In the last video, we talked about prophecies made in the Bible that were fulfilled. This week, I want to focus on Messianic prophecies. Those are prophecies made concerning the Messiah, the Savior who was to come and save the Jewish people and the world. Throughout the entire Old Testament, the Jewish people were waiting for someone to come and save them from the evil things of the world. Recorded throughout 39 books of the Old Testament are prophecies about what the coming Messiah would be like. What will he do? Where will he be from? Who will he be related to? All these details will be used to help confirm who the Messiah is when he eventually arrives. In all, there are around 350 prophecies scattered throughout the Old Testament that describe what the Messiah will be like. And Jesus fulfilled every single one. In this video, we're going to highlight just a few of these Messianic prophecies. I want to start with a video done by someone else. The 5 prophecies shared in this video all surround the birth of Jesus. So it's not like Jesus would read these prophecies and try to fulfill them himself as he was growing up. All of these were completely out of his control. Let's take a look.
And the first one actually shows up in the very first verse of the Bible, Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. And it says, "This is a record of the ancestors of Jesus the Messiah, a descendant of David and of Abraham." Now that may not mean anything to us today, but essentially what Matthew was trying to do is that he was trying to prove that Jesus indeed was qualified and had the right to be called the King of the Jews. And so the first thing that he had to prove through the lineage of Jesus was the fact that he was related to Abraham, since he was a pure Jew. But more importantly than that, he also had to prove that he was related to David. Why? Because if you jump back to the Old Testament, God had made a special promise to David in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 16, which says, "Your house and your kingdom will continue before me for all time, and your throne will be secure forever." Now, there is no possible way for someone's throne to be established forever unless the person sitting on the throne is eternal. And this is the reason why throughout his life and ministry, Jesus was referred oftentimes to the Son of David, which essentially is saying he is qualified and he has the right, because he's related to David, to be able to sit on the throne and to be called King of the Jews. The second prophecy that Jesus fulfilled at his birth is probably the most well-known and most popular one, and that is him being born of a virgin. And this was prophesied way back, almost some 700 years before Jesus Christ was born, through the prophet Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, which says, "The virgin will conceive a child. She will give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel," which means God with us. So how do we know that this prophecy is really talking about the birth of Jesus Christ and not something that was supposed to happen during Isaiah's lifetime? Well, my friend, it's simple. Since the time Isaiah gave this prophecy, throughout history, all the way leading up to the birth of Jesus Christ and beyond, there has never at one point in history ever been a man-child that has been born through a virgin. And Matthew in chapter 1 records the fulfillment of this prophecy. In verse 22, it says, "All of this," speaking of the virgin birth, "occurred to fulfill the Lord's message through his prophet. Look, the virgin will conceive a child. She will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel," which means God is with us. The third prophecy that Jesus fulfilled at his birth is actually the one that I find the most interesting, and that is the very fact that the very place of Jesus' birth was prophesied in the Old Testament. Micah chapter 5, verse 2 says this, "But you, Bethlehem, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel." Now watch this now. "Whose origins are from old, from ancient times." And that little phrase right there lets us know that this prophecy could not be talking about anyone else other than Jesus, who was God himself, who had origins that were from old, of ancient times. Now you may say, well, why is that a big deal? And how did Jesus actually fulfill that? I want you to pay close attention to this. This is absolutely beautiful. Luke chapter 2, verse 1, "In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world." Now stay with me here. It says in verse 3, "And everyone went to their own town to register." Now I want you to notice where Joseph, Jesus' earthly father's home was. He actually lived in Nazareth. It says here, "So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David." Verse 5, "He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him, and and was expecting a child. Now watch this now. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. Now you may say, well, why is that important? Well, understand this, that Joseph's hometown was in Nazareth, which means he had absolutely no business traveling to Bethlehem, but God set up and orchestrated the events in such a way that right around the time when Mary was supposed to give birth to Jesus, a census was called, and it forced Joseph to leave Nazareth and go to Bethlehem simply so that, for one reason only, that Jesus could indeed be born in the city of Bethlehem. And Matthew records this as being a fulfillment of prophecy. In Matthew chapter 2, verse 5, Matthew says, in Bethlehem in Judea, they replied, this is after Jesus was born, for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people. So Matthew sees the very place of Jesus' birth as a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy. Now, because King Herod was insecure about Jesus one day taking his throne, the Bible says that Herod issued a decree that all babies that were born, male babies that were 2 years or under, should be slaughtered. And so what happened was an angel visited Mary and Joseph at night in a dream and told them to flee. Now, where did he tell them to flee? Look what it says here in verse 13. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. Get up, he said, take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Wait, what? Egypt? Why would they go to Egypt? Let's keep reading. It says here, stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him. So they stayed there until the time of Herod's death. And notice that Matthew sees this move to Egypt as a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy. He says here in verse 15, and so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, out of Egypt I called my son. So do you see how God is divinely orchestrating all of the events around Jesus' birth to ensure that every single prophecy that was written about Jesus in the Old Testament indeed is going to come to pass? The fifth and final one is a sad one, and that is the massacre of newborn children. As I said, King Herod had issued a decree that went out throughout the land to slaughter all of the male boys 2 years or under, and unfortunately that sad, tragic event did indeed occur. And as you could anticipate, many of the women were weeping over the death of their newborn children. And Matthew sees this as a fulfillment of prophecy spoken hundreds of years ago by the prophet Jeremiah. Matthew chapter 2, verse 17 says, then what was said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. A voice is heard in Ramah, a little place just around the city of Jerusalem, weeping and great mourning. Rachel, which is a synonym for Israel, weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because they are no more. My friends, no other religion out there can boast of having such specific details prophesied about their religious leader's birth and then fulfilled by the leader himself with perfect accuracy. This and many other prophecies that were fulfilled in Jesus' lifetime gives me great assurance to know that the Bible that we have today was not written by man, but was written by God himself.
There was a man named Peter Stoner who was a professor of mathematics and astronomy. In the late 1950s, he calculated the odds of one person fulfilling just 8 of the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled. Only 8! As we go through these 8 prophecies, I want you to keep in mind that these estimates were calculated as conservatively as possible. Number 1, the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. This is found in Micah chapter 5, verse 2. The average population of Bethlehem from the time of Micah to the year 1958, when this was first done, divided by the average population of the earth during the same period, was 7,150 out of 2 billion, or 2.8 times 10 to the 5th power. Number 2, a messenger will prepare the way for the Messiah. This is found in Malachi chapter 3, verse 1. This questions how one man in how many the whole world over has ever had a forerunner to prepare the way for them. In this case, John the Baptist prepared the way for Jesus. The odds of this are 1 in 1,000, or 1 times 10 to the 3rd power. Number 3, the Messiah will enter Jerusalem as a king riding on a donkey. This is found in Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9. What are the odds of one man in how many who has entered Jerusalem as a ruler, entered riding on a donkey? The estimate is 1 in 100, or 1 times 10 to the second power. Number 4. The Messiah will be betrayed by a friend and suffer wounds in his hands. This is found in Zechariah chapter 13, verse 6. What are the odds that one man in how many the whole world over has been betrayed by a friend, resulting in wounds in his hands? The estimate of this is 1 in 1,000, or 1 times 10 to the third power. Number 5. The Messiah will be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. This prophecy is found in Zechariah chapter 11, verse 12. Of the people who have been betrayed, one in how many has been betrayed for exactly 30 pieces of silver? The estimate for the odds of this is 1 in 1,000 people, or 1 times 10 to the third power. Number 6. The betrayal money will be used to purchase a potter's field. This is found in Zechariah chapter 11, verse 13. After being betrayed by Judas, the money given to Judas that was used to betray Jesus was eventually used to buy a potter's field. The question here is, one man in how many, after receiving a bribe for the betrayal of a friend, has returned the money, had it refused, and then experienced it being used to buy a potter's field? The estimate for this is 1 in 100,000, or 1 times 10 to the fifth power. Number 7. The Messiah will remain silent while he is afflicted. This prophecy is found in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 7. Before Jesus was crucified, he was viciously beaten and questioned about who he was. He was asked to justify himself, to defend the claims that he was making, but instead he stayed silent. The question here is, one man in how many, when he is oppressed and afflicted, though innocent, will make no defense of himself? The estimate is 1 in 1,000, or 1 times 10 to the third power. Number 8. The Messiah will die by having his hands and feet pierced. This is found in Psalm chapter 22, verse 16. The question here is, one man in how many, since the time of David writing that psalm, has been crucified? The estimate is 1 in 10,000, or 1 times 10 to the fourth power. When you multiply all these probabilities together, it produces a number rounded off of 1 times 10 to the 28th power. When you divide this number by an estimate of the number of people who have lived since the time of these prophecies, it produces a probability of all 8 prophecies being fulfilled accidentally in the life of just one person. That probability is 1 in 10 to the 17th power, or 1 in... Hey, that's a lot of zeros. Can you give me some help with that? 1 in 100 quadrillion. And that's only 8 prophecies, when Jesus fulfilled well over 300. The truth is, this guy's math could be off a little. But even if it was, the odds are still astronomical. Check out this video to give you an idea of what those odds are like.
How do you know what's true is really true?
That's where the evidence comes in. Christ's offer to turn you into a new person is real if his claim to be God is true. So let's consider the evidence of 8 prophecies proving his claim is true. Do you know what the probability factor is of only 8 prophecies being fulfilled in Jesus?
No.
A 1 in 10 to the 17th power.
1 in 10 to the 17th power.
Huh?
That's 1 in 10 to this many times.
I don't get it.
If you were to take 10 to the 17th power Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies,
How many?
that's over a quintillion cookies, and spread them across the state of Texas,
Yeehaw!
they would cover every inch of the state and form a pile of Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies 2 feet deep.
That's a lot of Thin Mints.
A whole lot of Thin Mints.
Now take 1 more Thin Mint and lick all the chocolate off, toss it into that pile, and stir the whole thing up. Blindfold yourself, walk the entire state from Amarillo to Laredo, stopping just once to stoop down and pick a single blind Thin Mint cookie.
Got it.
Take off the blindfold.
Aw, nuts.
The chances of you picking the chocolateless cookie is the same as the chance that one person could have fulfilled just 8 prophecies about Jesus in one lifetime.
That's crazy.
It's unthinkable. But Jesus Christ did not fulfill 8 prophecies in one lifetime.
Whoa.
He fulfilled over 300.
300, girl.
Whoa.
And 29 of them in just one day. The prophecies are historically documented. The facts that actually happened to Jesus are historically documented.
If 8 prophecies is equal to picking one specific Thin Mint cookie from the entire state of Texas being covered 2 feet deep in Thin Mint cookies, how big of an area do you think we would need to cover to illustrate the odds of over 300 prophecies being fulfilled by just one person? Come to the parking lot with me and check this out.
5 minutes later.
Yeah, okay, I'll take care of it. Apparently, Pastor says I'm not allowed to cover the entire church parking lot in Thin Mint cookies. Hello, yes? Girl Scouts of America? I'd like to cancel an order. It was for 6.8 trillion boxes of Thin Mints. Yeah. The reason for canceling? Corona? Thanks. Actually, can you cancel all but one box? And throw in a box of tag-alongs too. Thanks. Keep in mind that all the prophecies written about Jesus were written by different people in different areas over many years, because the Old Testament is a collection of 39 books written by over 30 authors over 1,100 years. And the prophecies fulfilled by Jesus were recorded by 4 different authors in the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So it isn't as if the prophecies were made by Old Testament authors, and then there was some great collusion that took place to make up a story about Jesus fulfilling every single prophecy throughout the 4 different accounts without a single mistake being made. Hashtag Bible hoax. The only plausible explanation is that Jesus is who he claimed to be. That is, God in the flesh who came down to earth in human form, living a perfect life and paying the price for all our sin by dying on the cross, and then being resurrected on the 3rd day after his death. In addition to Jesus being who he claimed to be, the Bible is a divinely inspired book that was written by God, divinely copied and passed down for us to read and understand who God is and how to have a relationship with him. The odds of it being anything else are so high, they are almost immeasurable. Hey Siri, what is 1 trillion raised to the 10th power?
1 trillion raised to the 10th power is 100.
Yeah.